Welcome, brave souls, to a journey into the heart of Norse legend, where myth and destiny collide on the battlefield of eternity. Today, you will step beyond the veil of the mortal world and into the halls of gods, heroes, and spirits who shape the fate of warriors. This is the tale of the Valkyries, the mysterious shield maidens of Odin, who ride the storm winds and choose the slain. They are the daughters of battle, both beautiful and fearsome, tasked with guiding the worthy dead from the blood-soaked fields into the golden halls of Valhalla. In this saga, you will witness courage and sacrifice, loyalty and betrayal, triumph and sorrow. From the thunder of hooves across the sky to the ringing clash of swords, from the whispers of fate to the cries of fallen kings, the Valkyries appear, never by chance, always by design. Their choices echo across eternity, shaping the destiny not only of warriors, but of gods themselves. So, prepare yourself. 40 chapters of myth, magic, and mortal struggle await you. Let your heart be bold, your spirit steady, and your imagination unbound. The Valkyries ride. Will you ride with them? The earth trembles under the thunder of countless footsteps. Across the vast plain, two armies clash beneath a sky heavy with clouds. Spears glint in the pale light of dawn, shields shatter under the weight of steel, and the cries of the dying rise like a storm. The air smells of iron, smoke, and blood. Amid the chaos, unseen by mortal eyes, the veil between worlds begins to thin. The wind howls strangely, carrying with it whispers of wings and voices older than men. High above, shadows stir, neither bird nor cloud, but something far more terrible. The Valkyries are awakening. Odin, All-Father of the gods, watches from his high throne in Asgard. His single eye gleams with purpose as he sends forth his daughters of battle. They will choose among the slain, deciding whose courage earns them a place in Valhalla and whose cowardice condemns them to obscurity. The clash below intensifies. A young warrior grips his sword with trembling hands, his heart both fearful and resolute. He knows that this day will mark the end of his life, or the beginning of eternal glory. The first cries of ravens echo across the field, for they too sense what comes. And then, a shimmer in the sky, horse hooves made of lightning, cloaks of storm and mist. The Valkyries descend, their eyes shining with a cold, unearthly fire. The dawn of battle has begun, but its true meaning lies not in the clash of steel, conspicers, but in the choices yet to be made from the golden halls of Asgard. Odin All-Father surveys the mortal realm. Upon his high seat, Halidskjalf, he sees every battle, every oath sworn, and every blade raised in defiance of death. His ravens, Hugin and Munin, circle overhead, whispering secrets into his ear. The battlefield below is but one among many, yet today its fate will echo far into eternity. Odin's one eye gleams with grim satisfaction. He knows that not all who fight will see Valhalla. The Valkyries must ride forth and decide whose courage is worthy of eternal glory. These maidens are not mere servants, but his daughters of war, fierce and unyielding. They carry spears of light, shields forged in the fires of creation, and their presence turns the tide of every battle they enter. Odin speaks, his voice rolling like distant thunder. Go forth, my Valkyries. The field is red with the blood of men. Choose the bravest, those whose hearts do not falter. Guide them to my hall, that they may feast and train for the day of Ragnarok. Leave the cowards to rot in the earth. At his command, the Valkyries stir. Their steeds, cloaked in storm and shadow, stamp the clouds with hooves that spark lightning. One by one the maidens ride forth, their hair streaming like fire, their eyes glowing with faintest cold fire. They descend from the heavens, each one bearing the power to decide life after death. Below, the warriors continue their struggle, unaware of the gaze upon them. But soon, some will feel a chill, a brush of wind, a whisper in their ear. That is when they will know the Valkyries have chosen Valkyries chosen. The storm breaks across the heavens as the Valkyries descend. Their steeds, vast and spectral, gallop upon the winds as though the sky itself were a road of thunder. Cloaks of mist swirl behind them, and their spears blaze with ghostly light, casting silver fire upon the battlefield below. The clash of men grows dim beneath the roar of their passage. Warriors pause, some lifting their eyes skyward, struck by awe or dread, though most cannot truly see what looms above them. Only the brave and the dying glimpse the Valkyries in their true forms. Each maiden rides with a fierce, unearthly beauty. Some bear hair as black as ravens' wings, others as bright as golden dawn, but all share the same cold fire in their eyes, the gaze of fate. They are neither cruel nor merciful, but instruments of Odin's will. One Valkyrie, her name carried on the wind, Brynhildra, leads the host. She raises her spear, and the sky trembles. Lightning arcs across the plain, and the ravens scream in answer. At her command, the Valkyries spread wide, scanning the carnage below for souls worth claiming. To the mortals, the battle feels changed. Courage surges in the hearts of some, as though unseen hands guide their blades. Others falter, their spirits crushed, for the presence of the choosers of the slain weighs heavily on cowards. The ride of the Valkyries has begun. Death is no longer chance, it is chosen. In the chaos of steel and blood, one warrior stands apart. His armor is battered, his shield cracked, yet his spirit burns brighter than the flames devouring the battlefield. His name is Eirik, son of Jarl Haldor, though here he is not a noble heir, but a man among men. Tested by fate, the clang of swords surrounds him, but his mind is fixed on the vow he swore the night before. By firelight, with his comrades as witness, he placed his hand upon the hilt of his father's blade and spoke, "If I fall tomorrow, let me fall with honor. Let me be taken by the Valkyries to Valhalla, to serve Odin until the end of days." Now as dawn is light is swallowed by storm clouds, Eirik feels that vow weighing upon his heart. He fights not for victory, nor for survival, but for remembrance. Each stroke of his sword is a prayer. Each wound he endures a hymn to the gods. Overhead, unseen by most, Brynhildra watches. She sees the fierce light in his eyes, the steady hand upon his sword. Already she knows, this warrior is not bound for Hell's shadows, but for Odin's hall. Still, his fate must be tested. The Valkyries never choose lightly. Eirik roars as he drives his blade through an enemy's shield. "If I die well." His cry rises above the din, echoing into the heavens. The Valkyries hear it and they take note. The battlefield erupts into a storm of violence. Shields slam against shields that sound like thunder rolling across the plain. Warriors lock into a wall of wood and iron, each side pressing forward with desperate strength. Spears thrust through gaps, swords hack downward, and the cries of pain mingle with the roar of battle. Eirik is thrust into the thick of the shield wall. His cracked shield strains under the weight of countless blows. Yet he holds the line. Sweat and blood sting his eyes, but his oath steels his resolve. Around him, comrades fall, yet new warriors step forward to close the gaps. The Valkyries circle above, their spectral steeds pouring the clouds. Brynhildra's gaze lingers on Eirik, but she also notes others, grim veterans, fearless berserkers, and even a boy too young for war, who stands unflinching against men twice his size. Each warrior is tested in fire and blood, and each is measured by their courage. The shield wall surges. For a moment, it seems one side may break, but the warriors press harder, the clash echoing like mountain. Wood splinters, metal bends, and the air fills with the stink of sweat and death. Then, as the line quivers, a sudden silence ripples through the battlefield. The warriors feel it, a weight in the air, like unseen eyes upon them. Some shiver, others raise their voices in defiance. They do not see the Valkyries, but they feel their judgment. For those who falter, their fate is sealed. For those who stand unyielding, their souls already shine in the halls of Asgard. The battlefield is littered with broken shields and lifeless forms. Yet the clash rages on. Above, the storm churns darker, and the air itself seems to shiver with otherworldly presence. The time has come for the Valkyries to act. Brynhildr raises her spear, and her sisters gather around her, their steeds pouring the storm winds. She speaks, her voice a song of thunder. Now we choose. Let the brave rise, and the weak fall into dust. At her command, the Valkyries descend, their cloaks of mist streaming like banners of doom. Below, Eirik stumbles, a spear lodged in his side. He falls to one knee but refuses to surrender. His sword drips with blood, his enemies, his own, and he lifts it once more. His cry carries over the din, I fight until the end. At that moment, the battlefield hushes. A single Valkyrie, astride her spectral horse, rides through the storm and descends upon Eirik. Her eyes blaze with cold fire as she points her spear toward him. Warriors near him fall silent, sensing something greater than mortal fate. Eirik looks up, and though his vision blurs with blood, he sees her, a maiden of both beauty and terror, radiant in her armor of starlight. He knows. His oath has been heard. The Valkyrie nods once. His spirit rises like breath from his lips, carried into her hand. His body collapses, but his soul soars, taken from the blood and mud of Midgard into the path toward Valhalla. The first choice has been made. The battle will rage on. But now the Valkyries ride among the slain. The air grows heavier as the first soul is taken. Eirik's body lies lifeless in the mud, but his spirit has been lifted into the Valkyrie's hand, vanishing into the storm above. Those who fought beside him cry out, some in grief, others in rage. The clash of battle falters for a moment, the field shaken by something greater than swords and shields. A hush spreads across the warriors, broken only by the cawing of ravens and the groans of the dying. For the first time, many realize that fate is no longer blind. The Valkyries are here, and their judgment is absolute. A dying man reaches out, his hand trembling as blood seeps into the soil. He whispers to the unseen sky, "Choose me, let me fight again in Odin's hall." But no Valkyrie comes. His eyes fade in sorrow, knowing he has been denied. His cry becomes the cry of all who are passed over, a wail of longing and despair that drifts across the field like smoke. Others fight harder, desperate to prove their worth. Blades clash with renewed fury, as though each man believes he can force the Valkyrie's gaze upon him. Yet the maidens of fate are unmoved by desperation. They seek courage, not fear, honor, not pleading. High above, Brynhildr and her sisters continue to watch. They hear the cries of the fallen, but their faces remain cold as steel. For every chosen, many more will be left to rot in the earth. Such is the way of battle. The cries echo on, half prayer, half curse, and still the Valkyries ride. Through the chaos of the battlefield, a Valkyrie named Skuld descends, her horse riding upon the storm winds. Unlike her sisters, Skuld is more than a chooser of the slain. She is tied to prophecy, her sight piercing not only death, but the threads of fate itself. Her eyes fall upon a warrior whose chest is pierced by a spear. Blood pours from the wound, but his gaze is steady, defiant, even in death's grip. She lowers her spear toward him, ready to claim his soul for Valhalla. Yet, as her hand touches the spirit rising from his broken body, a vision floods her mind. In his eyes she sees not just courage, but fire, the fire of a future yet to come. She sees giants marching, gods falling, and the world consumed in flame. She hears the howl of Fenrir, the crash of Mjolnir, the screams of gods and men alike. She sees herself and all her sisters riding into that final battle. The vision sears her like lightning. She gasps, her grip trembling, though she is immortal and unyielding. The other Valkyries glance her way, but do not interfere. Prophecy is Skulda's burden alone. Still, she completes her duty. The warrior's soul is lifted into her hand, shining bright against the storm. Yet even as she carries him upward, the image of Ragnarok lingers, etched into her mind like a scar. She knows now every choice, every soul claimed, is not just for glory. It is preparation for the end of all things. It is preparation for the end. The storm hangs low, heavy with death. The clash of battle weakens as exhaustion takes hold, and the cries of the wounded rise louder than the war horns. Where once steel rang out, now groans and silence linger. From the shadows above the ravens descend. Hugin and Munin, Odin's ever watchful eyes, swoop across the battlefield, their wings black as midnight. They circle the fallen, cawing in triumph, for they know the work of gods is not yet complete. Where the Valkyries choose only the worthy, the crows claim the rest. Their beaks tear at flesh, their talons scrape at armor, and they feast upon the unremembered dead. The ground grows dark with their swarming wings, a living tide of blackness. The warriors who still breathe shudder at the sight. Some spit curses, others whisper prayers, for they know what it means to be left to the crows. No honor, no hall, only decay. One dying man cries out, "Do not leave me here, not to them!" But no Valkyrie descends. His body stiffens, his voice fades, and the birds descend. Among the cries of the dying, one warrior lies still, his chest pierced by many wounds. His breath comes shallow, yet his eyes remain fixed on the horizon, where storm and fire mingle in the heavens. His name is Arvid, a father, a husband, and once a farmer before war called him to arms. As his life ebbs, a Valkyrie descends, her hair flowing like molten gold, her spear glowing faintly in the gloom. She kneels beside him, and though her face is stern, her touch is gentle. As she rests her hand upon his brow, his spirit stirs, rising like smoke from his body. But before he follows her, he turns his gaze inward. In that fleeting breath between life and death, he sees his wife by the hearth, weaving cloth by firelight. He sees his son, running through the fields with laughter on his lips. He sees his daughter cradling a lamb, smiling with innocence. Tears shimmer in his fading eyes, but he does not weep. He whispers, "Forgive me. Remember me." His soul drifts upward, taking with it the memory of love as much as the glory of battle. The Valkyrie raises him onto her spectral steed, her expression unyielding, but her eyes softened by the echo of his farewell. She rides into the storm, bearing him toward the golden halls. On the battlefield below, his body lies still, but in the heavens, his spirit begins its eternal journey. His farewell lingers, not as sorrow, but as honor. Among the storm, where thunder crowns the battlefield, one Valkyrie lingers. Her name is Sigrun, fierce among her sisters. Yet her heart stirs with something dangerous, compassion. She circles above the carnage, her spectral steed restless. as her eyes fall upon a warrior below. He is no hero of renown, no noble or king, but a common soldier. His wounds are many, his shield splintered, yet he fights on, shielding his younger brother, even as arrows pierce his flesh. His courage burns bright, but so too does his love, an unspoken vow not to leave his kin behind. Sigrun grips her spear tightly. By Odin's decree, the Valkyries must choose the brave, the ones who fight for glory. Yet here is a man whose valor is not for Odin's hall, but for family. She hesitates, torn between her duty to the Allfather and the silent plea she sees in his eyes. Her sisters swoop past, choosing swiftly, their faces set in cold resolve. Sigrun remains, her spear lowered but unmoving. To choose him would defy her father's will. To pass him over would deny the rare, selfless bravery she knows the gods too often overlook. The man falters, collapsing to his knees. His younger brother calls his name, trying to lift him, but the end has come. His spirit trembles on the edge of release. Sigrun whispers into the storm, "What is true courage?" To fight for gods. Or for love? The answer is not given. Her hand trembles as the battlefield swallows his final breath. And so she hesitates still, trapped in a dilemma that even immortals cannot escape. The clang of steel fills the field, yet for one warrior, fate strikes not from an enemy's hand, but from betrayal by his own weapon. Gel, a seasoned fighter with scars carved deep into his flesh, swings his father's ancient sword with all the fury of his bloodline. For years, that blade has carried him through countless battles, a symbol of strength and honor. But in this moment, as he clashes against a towering berserker, the steel bends beneath the force of the strike. A crack splinters through the blade. Gel gasps, disbelieving, as his trusted weapon snaps in two. The broken haft clatters to the mud, useless and cold. The berserker roars, raising his axe for the final blow. Gel does not run. He grips the shattered hilt and thrusts with what remains, though the edge is jagged and weak. His courage burns, but his weapon betrays him. The axe crashes down, splitting shield and bone alike. Gel falls, blood seeping into the earth. Above, a Valkyrie named Kara witnesses his end. She feels his fury, his loyalty to his blade, and the tragedy of betrayal by steel. She lowers her spear, ready to claim his soul, for courage was not absent even in failure. But the lesson lingers. Even the strongest man is nothing if the tools of fate betray him. The sword, once a symbol of glory, lies in ruin. The man who bore it is carried to Valhalla. And so the battlefield whispers a truth. Not all deaths come from weakness. Sometimes, fate itself shatters the steel we trust. Beneath the roots of Yggdrasil, the great world tree, dwell the Norns. Earth are Vörðan Andi and Skuld, the weavers of fate. From their well of destiny they spin the threads of every life, mortal and divine. The Valkyries are their hands in battle, yet even Odin himself cannot escape the Norns' design. As the storm rages over the battlefield, Brynhildr feels a sudden chill. She halts her steed mid-flight, her sisters sensing the shift. In her mind, a whisper stirs, a voice not her own, but older than the gods. Choose carefully. The threads fray. The Norns speak, their voices layered like the rumble of earth. Brynhildr grips her spear, her eyes narrowing. Below, she sees two warriors fall at once. Both fought with honor, both spilled blood without fear. Yet only one soul may rise to Valhalla, the other is bound for the shadows. She hesitates. Normally her judgment is swift, but the whisper of the Norns coils through her thoughts. The threads of destiny shimmer before her sight, one thread gleaming bright with future glory, the other dark, destined to fade. But which belongs to whom is hidden, tangled by design. The sisters watch her, their silence heavy. To delay too long is weakness, yet to choose wrongly may twist the fates of gods and men alike. Brynhildr lowers her spear and makes her choice, guided not by her own will, but by the unseen weavers. One soul rises, shining with pride. The other fades into the mud, his cry unheard. The whisper fades, but its echo lingers. The end has already begun. The battlefield trembles beneath the weight of armies. But among the chaos rides one whose presence commands more than fear. It commands destiny. King Harald, called the Iron Wolf, leads his men with unyielding ferocity. His crown is dented, his cloak torn, yet his sword strikes with the strength of 100 warriors. Wherever his banner flies, his warriors rally, refusing to break, but even kings bleed. In the heart of battle, a spear finds its mark. Harald staggers, blood staining his chest. His men cry out, desperate to shield him, but he pushes them aside. "Stand your ground!" He roars, even as his strength wanes. Above the Valkyries gather, for a king's soul is no ordinary prize. Brynhildr herself watches intently, while Skuld narrows her eyes, seeing tangled threads in his fate. This is no simple choice, for when kings fall, realms tremble, yet before the Valkyries can descend, another presence stirs. Freyja, goddess of love and war, appears in a shimmer of golden light. She claims her right to half the slain, and for a king as mighty as Harald, her desire is strong. Odin's daughters bristle, their spears raised in defiance. The king falls to one knee, his last breath rattling in his throat. His spirit rises, shining brighter than many before him. Freyja extends her hand, but so too does Brynhildr. For a moment, the field itself holds still, the fate of a king balanced between gods. The storm cracks with thunder as the decision is made. Whether he feasts in Valhalla or Folkvangr, Harald's death will echo in sagas for centuries. The Iron Wolf has fallen, and the gods themselves contend for his soul. The plain has become unrecognizable. What was once green earth is now a mire of mud and blood. So many warriors have fallen that the ground itself cannot drink their sacrifice fast enough. A crimson river forms, winding through the battlefield, carrying shields, broken spears, and lifeless bodies in its current. The living fight upon its banks, their boots sinking into the muck, their blades slipping on wet iron and bone. Some stumble into the river, thrashing as the tide of death pulls them under. Others wade through it, roaring in defiance. Each step a struggle against drowning in the blood of comrades and enemies alike. Above, the Valkyries ride the storm, their spectral steeds stamping lightning across the heavens. Brynhildr surveys the flood with grim recognition. This is no ordinary battle. This is slaughter on a scale to shake the roots of Yggdrasil. Ravens descend in black swarms, feasting upon the endless dead. The air is thick with their wings and cries, as though the battlefield itself were cursed. The Valkyries swoop lower, their eyes searching for the few sparks of courage that still burn amid the endless dying. One warrior raises his voice above the carnage, shouting, "The river will not take me. I will walk to Valhalla, not be dragged to hell." His defiance is noted, his spirit blazing like a torch amid the flood. The river of blood widens, carrying away the nameless and forgotten. Yet from its crimson depths rise the chosen, lifted by Odin's daughters. Ring des Hairs, proof that even amid endless death, honor does not drown. Far from the clash of shields, at the edge of the battlefield, a woman stands among the campfires. Her name is Astrid, wife to a warrior who even now fights amid the storm of steel. She clutches a simple charm he carved for her before he marched to war. A token of love, worn thin by her hands. On the field, Her husband, Rorik, falls beneath a rain of spears. His shield shatters, his body pierced, yet his spirit burns as fiercely as when he first raised arms for his people. As life fades, a Valkyrie descends, her spectral steed galloping upon the winds. She raises her shining spear and claims his soul, lifting it gently from the broken body. Astrid, though mortal eyes rarely see such things, feels it. Her heart stirs, her breath halts, and when she looks skyward, she glimpses, if only for a heartbeat, her beloved rising in the Valkyrie's hand. He turns once, his spirit radiant, and though no words are spoken, she knows his farewell. Tears spill freely as the storm swallows him, carried toward Odin's hall. Around her, other women wail for the lost, but Astrid's grief is mixed with pride. Her husband has been chosen, his name will be sung, and though she is left alone, his love and honor are. On the battlefield, his body lies cold. But in the heavens, he rides to feast beside the gods. Forever remembered, the battlefield shakes not only with the clash of men, but with the fury of the heavens. Above, the storm grows vast and violent, its thunder echoing like the drums of war. Bolts of lightning split the sky, striking the earth and shattering shields, as though the gods themselves roar in judgment. The Valkyries ride at the storm's heart, their steeds galloping across black clouds. Each hoofbeat sparks fire in the sky. Each cloak trails ribbons of lightning. Their eyes glow brighter than the storm, and their cries mingle with the thunder, a chorus of war maidens whose song terrifies even the bravest. Below, warriors freeze in awe. Some fall to their knees, believing the end of the world has come. Others raise their swords higher, thinking themselves chosen if only they fight harder under the wrath of heaven. Einherjar raises her spear, lightning flashing along its edge. With one gesture, the storm responds, a torrent of rain and fire sweeping across the plain. She is not only a chooser of the slain, she is the storm itself, and where she rides, fate follows. One warrior dares to shout, "The Valkyries ride with us!" His cry spreads, turning fear into frenzy. Men clash once more, emboldened by the storm, though many know the fury above is not for them, but against them. The storm above rages on, a sign that the battle is no longer mortal alone. It is divine amid the clash of steel and the cries of men. A boy hides among the broken wagons at the battlefield's edge. His name is Leif, scarcely 12 winters old, brought here by chance and misfortune. His father, Sten, a proud warrior, had forbidden him to come. Yet the boy had followed, determined to glimpse the courage of men with his own eyes. Now he watches in terror as the battle rages. His father fights fiercely, shield raised, axe biting deep into the enemy. But no man stands forever. A sword pierces Sten's side, and though he slays his foe in return, his strength falters. He falls, blood soaking into the trampled earth. Leif cries out, breaking cover, running to his father's side. He kneels beside him, clutching the calloused hand that once guided his own. Sten's eyes meet his son's, tender, proud, unafraid. "Do not weep, my boy," he whispers, "for this is a good death." Above, a Valkyrie descends, her horse's hooves glowing like fire upon the air. She gazes upon Sten, her spear raised in judgment. His courage, his sacrifice, his steady hand for his son, all shine brighter than the storm. She lifts his spirit, carrying it upward. Leif watches in wonder. He sees his father's soul rise, radiant in the Valkyrie's grasp. Though grief tears his heart, he feels also a strange pride. His father has been chosen. His name will echo in the halls of the gods. The boy kneels beside the lifeless body, his tears mingling with blood. Though still a child, he now knows the weight of battle and the honor of the slain. The storm fades, and with it, the roar of battle. Where once thousands clashed, now silence reigns. The field is strewn with broken shields, shattered swords, and the still forms of the fallen. Smoke curls upward from burning wagons, mixing with the last breath of dying men. The silence is not peace, but the heavy weight of death. Ravens hop among the corpses, their wings stirring the quiet as they feast without fear. Horses, riderless and wounded, wander aimlessly, snorting in confusion. The once living chorus of war has been reduced to a graveyard's hush. Through this silence ride the Valkyries. Their steeds step lightly upon the air, their glowing eyes sweeping across the field. Some souls drift upward, radiant, their bodies left behind in the mud. Others lie cold, unclaimed, destined to fade into Hell's shadow. Brynhild lowers her spear, pointing toward a cluster of fallen warriors who died shoulder to shoulder. She nods once, and their spirits rise together, proud even in death. Skuld watches the stillness, her mind heavy with the visions of Ragnarok. She knows this silence is only a pause before greater storms to come. Among the living, a few wounded crawl, dragging themselves through the mire, whispering prayers. But no answers come. The gods have taken their share, and fate has spoken. The battlefield rests now in the grasp of silence, a silence that is more terrible than the clash of war. For in stillness, the weight of sacrifice and the shadow of destiny lingers strongest. The storm of battle is left behind, and the chosen souls are carried upward through shimmering clouds. The Valkyries ride swift upon their steeds, each bearing the spirits of warriors bound for the hall of the gods. The air grows brighter, the sound of war fading into silence, until the golden spires of Asgard pierce the heavens. At the gates of Valhalla, the Einherjar, those already chosen, stand in shining ranks, their armor polished, their weapons gleaming. They raise their voices in thunderous welcome as the new fallen are brought forth. The gates swing wide, and beyond lies the hall of Odin, its roof made of shields, its walls of spears, its benches endless. Upon his high seat, Halidskjalf, sits Odin Allfather, his one eye glowing like a star, his wolves at his feet, and Hugin and Munin perched upon his shoulders. He surveys the new arrivals with the gravity of eternity itself. One by one, the Valkyries kneel, presenting the warriors they have chosen. Odin listens, his gaze piercing the hearts of the fallen. Some spirits tremble under his stare, others stand tall, unflinching even before a god. Odin speaks, his voice deep as thunder. You have fought, you have bled, and you have died with honor. You are mine now, bound to the spear and shield until the end of days. Feast, train, and wait, for Ragnarok comes, the warriors cheer, their spirits blazing with pride. The Valkyries step back, their duty fulfilled, though their eyes never leave the Allfather, for even they feel the weight of his judgment. Thus the chosen are received, their names carved into the eternal song of Valhalla. The gates of Valhalla swing wide, and the newly chosen enter, their spirits blazing brighter than fire. Before them stretches a hall unlike any in Midgard. Its roof is thatched with golden shields, its walls gleam with spears, and its benches run farther than mortal eyes can see. The air hums with laughter, song, and the ringing of drinking horns against oak tables. The Einherjar rise to greet their new brothers, warriors from every age of man. They clasp arms, exchanging cheers and boasting of their deaths as though they were victories won. For here, death is not an end but a beginning, and each scar is worn with pride. At the center, the Valkyries move among them, bearing golden horns filled with mead. They serve not as servants, but as honored companions, their presence a reminder that each warrior has been chosen for glory. The mead flows endlessly, drawn from the udders of Haithru N, the goat who grazes upon Yggdrasil S leaves. Plates overflow with boris flesh, ever replenished, roasted to perfection by Andri Munir, the eternal cook. Odin himself watches from his high seat, silent yet satisfied, his one eye gleaming as his hall resounds with the clamor of the honored dead. He knows each of these men will one day fight again at Ragnarok, and their joy now will harden into strength when the end of all things comes. The feast roars on, louder than storms, brighter than dawn. For in Valhalla, warriors do not mourn their deaths. They celebrate them. The feast roars on, but amid the laughter and the clamor of horns, a hush begins to spread. From the far end of the hall, a skald rises, harp in hand, his voice deep as winter and clear as a mountain stream. The Einherjar fall silent, for even in Valhalla, the songs of the skalds hold power greater than steel. He begins with the tales of the newly arrived. Eirik, who swore his oath and met death unflinching. Gel, whose sword shattered but whose courage did not. Harald, the Iron Wolf, king who fell with his crown still gleaming. Their names roll through the hall like thunder, their deeds woven into verses that will never fade. The warriors pound their fists against the tables, each beat echoing like drums of war. Some shout their own stories, eager to hear their names sung, but the skald silences them with a glance. For the song is not mere boasting, it is the binding of memory to eternity. The Valkyries stand at the edges, their faces stern, yet even their eyes soften as the verses rise. For the skald words honor, not just the men, but the choices the Valkyries made in lifting them from the field of death. Odin listens, his one eye gleaming, and though his lips do not move, the faintest smile touches his face. For the songs are not only memory, they are prophecy. Each verse ties the past to the fate of Ragnarok, when these warriors will rise again. When the last note fades, the hall erupts in cheers. Horns are raised, and the names of the fallen echo in chorus. Through song, death becomes eternal glory. Not every warrior earns a place in Odin's hall. For among the fallen lie those who fled, those who broke their oaths, those who raised their shields not for honor, but for fear. Their fate is harsher than death. It is denial. On the battlefield, one such man lies trembling, his weapon cast aside long before his blood was spilled. His eyes dart wildly as his spirit begins to rise. Desperate, pleading for salvation, he stretches his hand toward the storm, crying, "Take me! Let me not be left to rot." But no Valkyrie descends. Instead, the storm grows darker around him. From the shadows, figures stir, not maidens of light, but wraiths of hell. Their forms are twisted, their eyes like cold embers, their touch like frost. They reach for the cowardice spirit, pulling it down into the earth. He screams, struggling, clawing at the air as though to grasp what cannot be held. The other fallen watch, their own souls trembling in silence, for they know this doom well. It is the price of betrayal. High above, Brynhildr and her sisters turn their faces away. The Valkyries do not choose the faithless. Odin does not feast with cowards. His hall is only for those who meet death with courage. The coward cries fade as the earth swallows him whole. His name will never be sung, his face never remembered. He is lost to Hellas' cold halls, where shadows feast upon regret. Thus, amid glory, the doom of cowards is revealed, to die forgotten, their spirits chained in eternal silence. The Valkyries sweep across the battlefield like storm winds, their presence feared and revered. Yet even they, radiant and immortal, are not beyond the touch of war. Amid the clash, Kara, a fierce Valkyrie with hair like raven wings, soars low upon her spectral steed, her spear blazing with light. She descends to claim a warrior whose courage shines like fire. But in her descent, an arrow, wild and blind, finds its mark. It pierces her shoulder, the shaft glowing as though tipped with cursed iron. Kara cries out, her steed shrieking as thunder splits the sky. For a moment, the warriors below glimpse her clearly, an immortal wounded, her blood like silver rain, falling upon the earth. Awe and terror ripple across the field. Some drop to their knees in worship, others raise their weapons in defiance, believing the gods can bleed. Her sisters rush to her side, circling in a storm of light. Brynhildra grasps her arm, steadying her. "Hold, sister!" "You are not fallen." But Kara's face is pale, her hand trembling on her spear. Still, she refuses to release the soul she came for. With fierce resolve, she lifts the warrior's spirit, carrying him skyward, even as her wound burns with unholy fire. The Valkyries ascend, cloaking Kara in their storm, shielding her from further harm. Yet the sight remains burned into mortal eyes. A Valkyrie struck, her silver blood upon the earth. For the first time, men whisper that even Odin's daughters may suffer. And the storm above does not feel so distant. Not all who gaze upon the Valkyries see only fear. For some, their beauty burns brighter than terror, and love blossoms even amid blood and death. On the field lies a warrior named Alaric, young yet bold, his chest pierced by a sword. As his spirit rises, he sees her, Sigrun, radiant, her cloak of storm trailing behind her, her spear gleaming like the dawn. To others, she is death incarnate. To him, she is the light that eclipses all fear. She reaches for his spirit, her face cold as stone. But Alaric does not tremble. He smiles, even as his body bleeds into the soil. "If this is death, then let me follow you, not to Odin's hall, but wherever you walk." The words strike her like an arrow sharper than steel. For Valkyries are bound by duty, untouched by mortal longing. Yet in his gaze she sees no fear, no begging, only a strange devotion that shakes the silence of her heart. Repression. For a moment she hesitates. Her hand lingers longer than needed as she lifts his spirit. A spark flares between them, brief, fragile, but undeniable. She says nothing, yet in her silence is an unspoken answer. The other Valkyries do not notice, or perhaps they pretend not to. Duty carries her onward, and Alaric's soul is swept into the storm. Yet in his smile and in her pause, a forbidden truth is revealed. Even death cannot silence love. Not all the slain belong to Odin, for though the Allfather commands the Valkyries, another claims her share of souls. Freyja, goddess of love, beauty, and war. Half of those who fall in battle are hers by ancient right, carried not to Valhalla, but to her hall, Folakvangur. As the Valkyries ride, the storm splits with golden light. From the heavens descends Freyja herself, seated upon a chariot drawn by cats the size of lions, their eyes glowing like emerald fire. Where she passes, the rain softens, the storm calms, and the scent of blooming fields drifts upon the blood-soaked air. The warriors gaze upward in awe, for though she is a goddess of gentleness, she is also fierce, and her beauty is terrible to behold. Her voice carries across the battlefield, both tender and commanding. "These are mine. They shall walk not in Valhalla, but in Folakvangur, where love and valor dwell like." The Valkyries pause, their cloaks of storm swirling around her golden presence. Some bristle, loyal only to Odin, but Brynhildra inclines her head in respect. For this is no theft, but a bond as old as the world itself. Souls chosen by Freyja rise in radiant streams. drifting into her embrace. Their faces glow with peace, for her hall promises not only battle, but rest, warmth, and love eternal. The balance is kept. Odin feasts with the boldest, but Freyja gathers the hearts whose courage is gentled by compassion. Thus the battlefield serves not one master, but two. The chosen dead are not simply swept into Odin's hall without challenge. For though the Valkyries lift them from the field, each warrior must prove himself worthy before crossing the benches of Valhalla. This trial, whispered of in sagas, is known only to those who stand at the threshold between life and eternity. One such warrior, Arngrim, rises from the blood-soaked earth in the Valkyrie's grasp. His spirit blazes like fire, but when they reach the gates of Valhalla, he is set down upon a stone path that winds through shadows. The golden hall looms ahead, its roof of shields gleaming, but a great wolf blocks the way, eyes like embers, teeth dripping with smoke. The Valkyrie speaks, fight or falter. Only the bold may enter. Arngrim grips the ghost of Srey. Arngrim grips the ghost of his sword, a weapon forged not of iron, but of his will. The wolf lunges, its howl shaking the very air. Arngrim does not flee. He meets the beast head-on, their clash echoing like thunder. The battle is fierce, but in the end his spirit-s blade pierces the wolf-s heart. The creature dissolves into mist, leaving only silence. From the shadows, other spirits watch, those who failed, those who faltered, condemned to wander. But Arngrim strides forward, his courage proven. The gates swing wide, and Odin's voice booms, "Enter, warrior. Feast and train, for Ragnarok awaits." The Valkyrie smiles faintly as she follows him inside, her task fulfilled. For every hero who enters Valhalla, the trial is not only of strength, but of spirit. The battlefield grows quiet around a single man. His armor is shattered, his body broken, his lifeblood soaking into the mud. Yet his eyes remain open, staring at the sky through the haze of smoke and storm. His name is unknown to the Skalds, for he is no king, no great hero, only a soldier among thousands. But even the smallest ember burns brightly in its final flicker. Above him, a Valkyrie hovers, her spectral steed's hooves stamping sparks upon the air. Her spear glows faintly, poised to strike downward, not as a weapon, but as a beacon to call his spirit forth. She does not speak, yet he feels her presence. His lips tremble with the weight of words too heavy for breath. Ingda, Bis, in his fading thoughts, he remembers his mother's voice, singing him to sleep as a child. He remembers the warmth of the hearth, the laughter of comrades, the scent of pine forests after rain. He wonders if they will remember him, not as a hero, but as a man who stood his ground until the end. A single tear slips from the corner of his eye. His chest rises once more, falters, then falls still. His spirit exhales from his lips, shimmering like smoke in the wind. The Valkyrie leans forward, her hand gentle as she lifts the fragile soul into her grasp. No saga will sing his name. No skald will carve his deeds into song. Yet Odin's hall does not measure only fame, but courage. And in his final breath, he gave it freely. The battles of men rise and fall like waves. But in the heavens, a greater tide begins to stir. The Valkyries ride, their cloaks of storm trailing through the skies, yet their faces are shadowed with unease. For in the whispers of the wind, in the trembling of Yggdrasil's roots, they feel it, the approach of something vast, inevitable, and final. The storm above the battlefield does not fade as before. Instead, it grows heavier, blacker, laced with fire that flickers in unnatural hues. Lightning cracks not once, but endlessly, a drumbeat of doom. Even the bravest warriors look upward and shudder, for this storm does not belong to the day's battle. It belongs to the end of days. Skuld, seer among the Valkyries, closes her eyes, her mind drawn into visions. She sees the serpent Jormungandr stirring beneath the ocean, its coils churning the seas. She hears the howl of Fenrir echoing across the void. She feels the chill of Hellis halls opening wide, spilling shadows into the world. Her sisters watch her in silence, their hands tightening on their spears. Brynhildra speaks, her voice low and grim. The hour draws closer. Every soul we choose is not only for Valhalla's feast, but for the last battle. The Valkyries turn their gaze downward, where mortals fight and die, unaware of the greater fate entwining their blood. Each warrior chosen is another blade for Ragnarok, another shield against the storm that will end all things. The storm gathers, and with it, destiny. In the chaos of war, courage is tested, but so too are promises. Few bonds are stronger than an oath. An oath sworn before gods and men. Yet when such a vow is broken, its price is terrible. Jorund, among the fallen lies Jorund, once a proud warrior who swore upon his father's blade to stand with his shield brothers until death. But when the tide of battle turned, fear gripped his heart. He abandoned his place in the shield wall, fleeing into the shadows while his comrades fought and bled without him. Though his blade was sharp, his oath was sharper, and he shattered it with cowardice. Now, as his spirit rises from his body, the Valkyries approach. Jorund stretches out his hands, pleading, "I fought! I killed! I bled, choose me!" But his words ring hollow, for they are stained with treachery. Brynhildra's gaze pierces him like ice. "You swore, you fled, your name is Ash." She turns away, her spear lifted not in welcome, but in condemnation. From the shadows, the earth splits, and chains of fire coil upward. Dark spirits seize him, dragging his soul into the depths. He screams, thrashing, but there is no escape. His oath is broken, and his doom eternal. The warriors who remain glance in terror, for they know his fate. To fall is no shame, but to betray, to flee, to break a vow, is to be erased. Thus Jorund is swallowed into shadow, and his name will never be sung. His spirit will wander in torment until the end of days, chained by the weight of his broken oath. Amid the chaos of war, sometimes the storm narrows to two. On the blood-soaked plain, warriors clash in countless numbers, but at the center, two champions meet. One is Hrothgar, broad-shouldered, wielding an axe heavy as thunder. The other, Svein, lithe and swift, his sword flashing like lightning. Their duel draws eyes even amid carnage, for their strikes are not wild but precise, by skill and fury. The Valkyries circle above, their steeds halting in the storm, for though they judge many, they are drawn to such moments of clarity. When fate balances upon the edge of a blade, Brynhildra leans forward, her eyes narrowing. Hrothgar roars, swinging his axe in wide arcs, each blow shaking the air. Svein sidesteps, striking quick as a serpent, his blade carving lines of blood. Around them, warriors fall back, giving space as if the field itself recognizes the duel's weight. The clash continues, strike and counter, step and leap, their movements like a grim dance. Sweat and blood blur their vision, yet neither falters. For them, there is no army, no world, only the opponent before them, and the honor of victory, or the dignity of death. At last, Svein faints, drawing Hrothgar's guard wide. The sword pierces deep, and the great axe falls from Hrothgar's hands. He collapses, breath rattling, but his eyes gleam with pride. "Well struck," he gasps. The Valkyries descend. One kneels beside him, lifting his spirit, for though he fell, he did not fail. Svein raises his bloodied sword to the heavens, knowing the gods have watched, The duel is done. The dance of blades has ended in honor. The Valkyries are forged of storm and steel, daughters of Odin, bound to duty without mercy. Yet even immortals are not stone, and sometimes the weight of what they witness pierces deeper than their spears. On the battlefield lies a child soldier, scarcely more than 15 winters old. His face is pale, his hands trembling, but he fought with courage beyond his years, standing beside men twice his age, until his strength gave out. His body is pierced, his blood soaking into the mud, but his spirit still flickers like a candle in the wind. A Valkyrie, Einherjar, descends to claim him. She gazes upon the boy, her spear glowing faintly. He looks up at her, his lips moving in a whisper, "I do not wish to die. I wanted to see my mother again." The words strike her like a blow, for Valkyries are not meant to feel pity, yet in this moment, Einherjar's heart cracks. She kneels, her hand trembling as she lifts his spirit. Tears shimmer in her eyes, silver as moonlight, falling upon his broken body. The boy's soul rises, calm now, glowing softly in her grasp. She knows he will feast in Valhalla, yet her tears betray her. No hall, no feast, no glory can erase the tragedy of youth, stolen by war. Her sisters watch in silence. None speak, though they see the tears glimmer on her face. For even among the choosers of the slain, compassion is rare and dangerous. The storm rumbles on, but for a moment, the battlefield grows tender. A Valkyrie has wept, and her tears shine brighter than lightning, high above the smoke and blood of battle. Two dark shapes circle endlessly. Hugin and Munin, Odin's ravens, sweep across the sky, their wings catching the stormlight. They are thought and memory, ever watchful, ever returning to their master with whispers of the world. This day, their calls echo like omens. The Valkyries ride the storm, yet they do not ride blind. They follow the ravens, for where the black wings dip, a warrior's fate often burns brightest. Munin swoops low, circling a warrior who fights though his arm is shattered, his shield long splintered. Hugin cries out, wings spread wide, as if demanding that the Valkyries look closer. Brynhildr heeds the sound. She turns her horse toward the chosen, her eyes narrowing as she sees the fire in the man's spirit. The ravens do not guide only to glory, they also circle cowards, mocking their shame. Where Hugin dives, one man trembles, dropping his blade. The Valkyries see him too and turn away, leaving him for Hel's shadows. His wail is lost beneath the storm, but the raven's caws echo above, sealing his fate. The warriors on the field glance upward uneasily. To them, the birds are carrion feeders, drawn to the scent of death. But to the Valkyries, they are more heralds of destiny, Odin's eyes upon the mortal plane. When the raven's call rings out, the choosers of the slain do not question. They follow, for Odin sees through their wings, and his will is spoken in every cry. Beneath the storm, where blades clash and blood runs thick, one warrior fights with a strange fire in his eyes. His name is Thorvald, a man of humble birth, yet his spirit burns like the sun. Though wounds open across his flesh, though his shield lies splintered at his feet, he does not falter. As his strength wanes, the noise of battle begins to fade. The screams, the clash of steel, the thunder above, all dim until he hears only the steady beat of his own heart. His vision clouds, not with death, but with a light that pierces the storm. Before him rises a hall vast and golden. Its roof gleams with shields. Its gates tower higher than mountains, and from within pour songs of joy and feasting. He sees men laughing, boasting, raising horns of mead, their wounds forgotten, their spirits eternal. At the center, Odin himself sits, wolves at his feet, his one eye blazing with fire. Torvald gasps, though his lips cannot form words. He knows this is no dream, but a gift, a glimpse of Valhalla. His spirit trembles with yearning, aching to cross its threshold. Then a voice calls to him, soft as wind yet fierce as thunder. A Valkyrie stands beside him, radiant, her hand extended. Rise, warrior. The hall awaits you. His body collapses upon the earth, lifeless, but his soul lifts gladly into her grasp, for he has already seen his destiny, and the dream has become truth. The battlefield that once shook with steel now burns with fire. Flames leap high, devouring wagons, shields, and the bodies of the fallen. Smoke rolls across the plain, thick and choking, turning day into night. The air itself quivers with heat, and even the storm above bends to the blaze, lightning flashing red through the rising ash. At the heart of the inferno, warriors fight on. Some roar in defiance, their silhouettes black against the fire, striking until the flames consume them. Others stumble, blinded, coughing, their courage faltering as the world collapses around them. The cries of men are drowned in the crackle of burning wood and the roar of fire. The Valkyries descend through the smoke, their spectral steeds scattering embers in their wake. Brynhildr leads, her eyes narrowing as she beholds the ruin. This is no ordinary fire. It reeks of fate, of doom, as though the flames themselves are whispers from Muspelheim, realm of fire and giants. Skuld feels the threads of destiny trembling. In the blaze she sees visions, Surtur, the fire giant, raising his sword brighter than the sun. Wood. The world tree trembling as sparks consume the heavens. These flames are not merely the ruin of men, but the herald of Ragnarok. Still, duty binds them. The Valkyries plunge through the fire, their cloaks unburned, lifting souls even as the bodies below are reduced to ash. For though the world will end in fire, honor must be preserved until the last breath of time. The fires of destiny rage, and the choosers of the slain ride through them, knowing each flame is a warning of the end to come. The storm has raged, the rivers have run red, the fires have burned. Now the battlefield grows still, save for scattered cries of the dying. The ground is thick with corpses, and the air is heavy with smoke and ash. The Valkyries ride low, their eyes sharp, for the choosing is nearly done. Among the wreckage crawls a single warrior. His body is broken, his armor shattered, his breaths shallow. Yet even as his strength fades, he pulls himself forward, dragging his sword through the mud. His voice is hoarse, but he whispers still, "Not yet." "I will not yield." Brynhildr halts her steed above him. Her sisters gather close, for they know what this moment means. This is the last choosing. No more souls will be claimed until the world's final battle. The man lifts his head, blood streaking his face, and meets her gaze. There is no fear in his eyes, only defiance. Though his body fails, his spirit blazes bright as any king's. He raises his sword once more, though it shakes in his hand. Brynhildr lowers her spear. "Warrior," she says, her voice like thunder softened by sorrow. "You are the last." His spirit rises from his broken body, glowing like flame against the dark. The Valkyries bow their heads in silence as he is lifted skyward. The storm above grows quiet, as though even the heavens acknowledge the weight of this moment. With the last chosen claimed, the field lies abandoned. The dead remain, unremembered, their souls bound elsewhere. The Valkyries turn their steeds toward the horizon, for their task is done. The next they choose will not be until the fires of Ragnarok, far from the silent battlefield, high in Asgard. The gods themselves feel the weight of prophecy pressing closer. The Norns, at the roots of Yggdrasil, whisper that the threads are fraying. The storm that brewed over mortal blood has reached into the halls of the divine. Odin sits upon Halidskjalf, his ravens whispering of fire, wolves, and endless night. His one eye, ever watchful, gleams with grim certainty. He has long known this day would come, yet even the Allfather cannot escape, fate is weaving. Threthur sharpens Mjö Lelenir, the hammer sparking with restless thunder. His jaw is set, his heart eager for battle, though he too feels the dread of the serpent stirring beneath the waves. Freyja gathers her warriors in Folkvangr, her gaze sorrowful yet unyielding, ready to defend both love and life. Heimdall stands watch at Bifro's saint, his horn, Jalahorn, resting in his hand, waiting for the moment it must sound. The Valkyries return to Asgard, their steeds weary, their eyes shadowed. Brynhildr kneels before Odin. The last has been chosen. Valhalla is full. The feast is ready. All that remains is Ragnarok. Odin says nothing, for silence is the only answer. His hand rests upon Gungnir, the spear that will never miss, and his wolves stir at his feet. The gods gather in the golden hall, their faces bright yet darkened with foreknowledge. The twilight of the gods has begun, not in sudden ruin, but in the heavy pause before the end. The sun still shines, but its light feels thin, its warmth fleeting. Even the heavens know the final day approaches, the sky shatters with fire. The seas heave as Jörmungandr, the world serpent, rises from the depths, its coils encircling the earth. From the abyss comes Fenrir, the wolf vast as mountains, his jaws stretching wide enough to swallow sun and moon. The fires of Muspelheim blaze as Surtur marches forth. His sword, brighter than 1,000 suns, flames spilling across the 9 realms. Jalahorn sounds, Heimdall's horn of fate, its blast shaking Yggdrasil to its roots. The end has come. From Valhalla's gates pour the Einherjar, the chosen slain, their spirits clad in shining mail. They march behind Odin, their war cries fierce, their weapons raised high. From Folkvangr, Freyja leads her warriors, radiant yet terrible in her fury. The Valkyries ride at the forefront, storm cloaks billowing, spears blazing with light. The clash shakes creation itself. Thor meets Jörmungandr in a duel of gods, hammer against serpent's fangs. Odin rides against Fenrir, Gungnir flashing, his wolves at his side. Freyja's warriors clash with the fire giants, their songs drowned in the roar of flame. The Valkyries strike like lightning, lifting the spirits of the fallen even amid the end. So the battlefield is no longer a field, but the cosmos itself. Stars fall from the heavens, mountains crumble, seas boil. Yet still the warriors of Valhalla fight, not for survival, but for honor, the last and greatest battle of all. Though they know their doom, none falter, for Ragnarok is not merely the end. It is the fulfillment of every oath, every sword stroke, every choice the Valkyries ever made. The world burns, but courage shines brighter than the fire. The battlefield of Ragnarok blazes with fire and storm. Gods clash with monsters, and the chosen dead fight as though each strike might delay the end. Yet even the Valkyries, Odin's immortal daughters, are not spared from doom. They ride through the chaos, their steeds trampling fire, their spears blazing with lightning. For ages they have chosen the slain. Now they fight beside them. Every soul they once carried now fights in their ranks, and the Valkyries lead them as storm maidens of war. But the enemy is vast. A fire giant strikes one Valkyrie from her horse, and she falls into flame, her silver blood glowing as it touches the earth. Another is torn by the jaws of a wolf spawn, her cry lost in the roar of battle. Still, they fight on. Brynhildr, their leader, rides at the front, her cloak a banner of storm. She raises her spear against Surtur himself, her cry splitting the heavens. For Odin! For the end! Her strike pierces flame, but Surtur's sword answers. Fire consumes her, yet in her fall, she blinds the giant long enough for Odin's host to press forward. Einherjar, who once wept for a child soldier, lifts her spear and casts it even as she is struck down. Her tears now sparks in the firestorm. Skuld, bearer of visions, meets her fate with eyes unflinching, whispering. So it was written. One by one the Valkyries fall. Their storm dims, their cloaks fade, but their sacrifice is not in vain. Their courage shines even brighter in death, and their memory carries the warriors onward into the fury. The choosers of the slain have become the slain themselves. And still, they do not falter. The fires of Ragnarok consume the world. Gods and monsters fall alike. Odin is swallowed by Fenrir. Thor strikes down Jormungandr but succumbs to its venom, and Surtur's flaming sword burns the 9 realms to ash. The earth trembles, the seas boil, and the sky splits apart. All that was ends. Amid this ruin, the Valkyries lie fallen. Their steeds are broken, their storm cloaks scattered, their spears extinguished. Yet their sacrifice isn't, for though their bodies are consumed by flame and fang, their spirits do not vanish. The choosers of the slain cannot themselves be slain. In the silence after the world's end, when the flames of Muspelheim subside and only embers glow in the void, the Valkyries rise again, not in flesh, but in memory, in song, in the unyielding breath of courage. They ride not upon the skies of Midgard, but across the hearts of those who remember. Their steeds gallop over the ashes of the old world, hooves striking sparks in the dark. Their cloaks are woven of starlight now. Their eyes aglow with the promise of dawn. They carry no more souls, for the battle is done, yet they ride still, guardians of honor, heralds of the eternal. When the new world rises from the sea, when green returns to the earth, and life begins anew, whispers of the Valkyries will linger in the wind. Skalds will sing of them, warriors will dream of them, and every oath sworn upon sword and shield will echo their eternal presence. The world ends, the world begins, and still the Valkyries ride, and so our journey through the storm of steel and the songs of fate comes to an end. We have walked the blood-soaked fields of Midgard, stood beneath the thunder of Odin's gaze, and ridden with the Valkyries as they chose the brave and turned away the faithless. We have feasted in Valhalla, wept for the fallen, and witnessed the twilight of gods themselves. The tale of the Valkyries is more than a legend of war. It is a mirror of the human spirit, our courage, our fears, our oaths kept and broken. They remind us that honor is not measured by victory alone, but by the strength to face fate without trembling. They teach us that even in loss there is meaning, and even in death there can be glory. Though Ragnarok brought fire and ruin, though even gods and immortals fell, the ride of the Valkyries does not end. They live on in story, in song, and in the hearts of all who dare to stand unyielding against despair. Thank you, brave soul, for walking this path with me. Until we meet again, may your heart be bold, your spirit steady, and your name worthy of the songs yet to be sung.